tonight's council meeting. First of all, council would like to acknowledge the Wadawurrung people as the traditional owners of the lands, the waterways and the incredible skies which we meet on today. We pay respects to elders past, present and emerging, acknowledge all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are part of the Greater Geelong community today. My name is Trent Sullivan, and as Mayor of the City of Greater Geelong, I will be chairing tonight's council meeting. Thank you all for attending, everyone virtually and in person as well. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the Potato Shed, a venue that continues to play a significant role in the cultural, social and educational development on the Bellarine, and of course, as it's part of the Greater Geelong community as well. The Potato Shed has recently played host to a wonderful array of shows, performances, and there's plenty coming up to now and Christmas as well. So I encourage everybody to get online, check out the schedule, see what's going on, because one of the fantastic things about this venue is that there is always something for everybody, even a council meeting. Now, for all of our community members streaming in online, I hope you can hear us loud and clear. And of course, I'd like to send a warm welcome to everybody here tonight. We've got a couple of people who are here for their first ordinary council meetings. First of that being our newest councillor, Councillor Elise Wilkinson, who is jumping in online. She can hear us right now. Elise was voted in by Countback as the new Bellarine Ward Councillor in August, and has since been strongly advocating for residents across the municipality, particularly those in the ward of the Bellarine. Now, Elise cannot be with us tonight, but as I said, she's joining online, and we'll hear from her shortly when it comes to the affirmation of office. It is also the first ordinary council meeting of our new CEO, Ali Wasty. We've had one quick special council meeting so far, but now we're in here for the real deal, and we welcome Ali, who's also been an incredible contributor since arriving in the city some weeks ago. Now, as many of you know, councillors are and the public to hear from residents and to attend events on a regular basis. But in addition to this, the council group hits the roads 4 times a year to have events such as this one right now, the council meetings, in all of the 4 wards that the city is currently structured in. There's plenty of exciting things that have been delivered across the community, and as we're in the Bellarine, my fellow councillor, Ward Councillor Jim Mason and myself will be giving a quick presentation, and then we'll get on to the Q&A time. So let me bring that up. All right, I see Elise. Councillor Wilkinson, you're now on the big screen, so give everyone a big wave, if you can. Excellent, thank you very much. All right, we'll go now into our presentations. So there's been some large projects going on in the municipality, especially the Bellarine. One of the largest is, you want to see right across the road as you drove in, which is the Northern Bellarine Aquatic Centre. You don't need pictures, it's there and in the flesh. Now, it's exciting because in a little over a month's time, it will be opening its doors to the public. This has been long awaited, not just since construction, but for years of build, advocacy, and community wanting and needing. Now, from November, residents across the Northern Bellarine will no longer have to travel up to half an hour to find access to an aquatic centre. The development has outdoor 8-lane 50-metre pool, the all abilities change facilities, kiosks, seating areas, and shared tiered seating and landscaped lawns. Council was proud to pay its part in the funding with a $5 million contribution, but we thank the federal government for its $10 million contribution, which was able to make this project possible. And to help celebrate the opening of the new facility, we'll be hosting a free community day on November the 5th, a Sunday. So we implore everybody to come out and check it out and make use of the facility. Now, everyone's welcome to attend, but more details will be made online. There's a couple of pictures, but we've all seen it as we drove in as well. But this is a North Bellarine Aquatic Centre, not just a single pool. So there is a stage 2 to round it out and make it more complete. And there are significant additions that will come to this. And thank you to the support of the Victorian Government and the Federal Government, both who have allocated $20 million apiece to stage 2. There'll be a fantastic array of indoor spaces, including an indoor 8-lane 25-metre pool, warm water pool, cafe, social space, gymnasium, group exercise spaces, and changing places, change room as well. I'd also like to thank the advisory committee, which is put together, which is there pictured as well, many of the members there. 12 members of the community who had a fantastic role, a difficult role of providing the input and shaping and landing on these outcomes. They did a fantastic job. The outcomes were to meet a wide array of the community, and they did that job successfully. So thank you to them, and we can't wait to see the full scope of the Aquatic Centre take shape in the coming months. I'll hand over to Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And we've seen the buzz and the activity that the new Bolingbroke Library has brought to the heart of Drysdale. But it's not just a facility and the treasures within that have made it such a great place to visit. The wider area has benefited from a range of improvements that have created a real social hub. Upgrading the Drysdale Town Square has been on the agenda for several years. Via a $1.3 million project, we've now got a pedestrian mall, new furniture, tiered seating, better services, improved lighting, smart nodes and CCTV cameras. We received funding from the Australian Government to install the CCTV network and funds for the Victorian Government for the smart nodes. And of course we have the beautiful park and the green lawns. Now there are more than 2,000 Indigenous plants, 30 trees and an artistic sculpture called The Secret, which also is a fun feature for children's play. But it's no secret that the City commissioned artist Sana Mestrum to create it. And if you haven't worked it out, it's a woman reclining in the grass that becomes both a place of refuge and interaction, reflecting on how both the historical and contemporary use of the site as a library and holds untold stories to share and secrets to imagine. Also, the square gives a special presence, a space to read a book, have your lunch or coffee, or take a break from the shopping with the kids, where the kids can let off some steam. Meanwhile, the Beacon Point shared reserve trail, directly north up Beacon Point Road, you'll find one of the most recent recreation points. With $360,000 from the state government and $180,000 from council, we've designed and built a new 800 metre concrete shared trail. Starting at the beach access point opposite Cantata Way, the trail follows the cliff's edge to Beacon Point Reserve and then south along the eastern boundary of the reserve to finish on High Ridge Drive. And it's a spectacular part of the Bellarine. With a full 180-degree views across the bay, it should be a very popular experience for walkers and bike riders and encourage more use of the area. The pathworks are complete, but the finishing touches to the associated facilities are still to be applied, and this includes signage and trail information, park furniture and revegetation of the native Indigenous species. Over to you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Jim. I do enjoy that photo just up there you had before, because whilst our shoes may have been free from concrete, the ladies and gentlemen working on that footpath were actually kind enough to lend us their working tools for that photo, but it's a bit of a classic. Over to St Leonard's, the skate park upgrades happening there. So construction is currently underway for the second part of the development of the St Leonard's skate park there. Council was proud to put in $310,000 for that one, and the state government provided $360,000 and consulted with the St Leonard's Primary as well to get designs off the local school children who would definitely be using it. First stage saw us upgrade a couple of basketball hoops, futsal goals, 2 netball rings were installed and they are being used. Further expansion areas, as you can see on the little sort of map there in the photo, was an expanded skate area, mini ramps, quarter pipes, flat banks, rail and manual pads, and I did have to Google all those words during the design process so I knew what was going on, but they all seem pretty good when they'll come together. There will also be plaza and park features, and of course new shelters and seating areas, which is very, very important that there's something there for everyone. But we definitely like to acknowledge the help of the state government in that one. It's going to be a fantastic outcome for the entire community down there. Another part that's very important is fibre to the Bellarine, and this project is part of our Smarter Suburbs program. The program is to improve access to digital technology and to provide long-term infrastructure to support our growing community. Fibre to the Bellarine is an initiative that runs 44 kilometres of fibre from central Geelong through Drysdale to Queenscliff, connecting our key leisure, community facilities and libraries, education facilities as well, to world-class world-class internet. Now, the initiative has recently passed the halfway mark with fibre connected to Splashdown, 3 Leopold and into Curlewis, and it's still going. The remainder of the 44-kilometre run is due to be completed over the coming months. And once finished, it will significantly improve the service on offer at the Bolingbrook Drysdale Library, the North Bellarine Aquatic Centre, Potato Shed and the Community Centre. It also paves the way for optical fibre to be installed at other areas of the Bellarine in the future. They can all piggyback on this, further supporting plans to improve access to all areas of our community. Jim.
Thanks, Trent. And of course, this is another great project, the Barwon Heads Bowling Club, and it has involved 3 levels of government. Construction is effectively complete on a new pavilion for the Barwon Heads Bowling Club, and I understand the club will be moving into the new facility shortly, which is a great result as they prepare for the pennant season. The redevelopment includes a kitchen, bar, amenities, social area, office, storage and outdoor undercover veranda. The $1.2 million build has been funded with $500,000 each from council and the federal government and $200,000 from the state. And that's a good action photograph there. And finally, the Geelong Nature Festival. I really wanted to highlight one of the great events the city is helping to deliver at the moment. The Geelong Nature Festival opened in mid-September and is running until the end of October. And there's more than 80 events to take part in, from on-ground activities to workshops, guest speakers, presentations and displays. And a lot of these are managed by community groups, with one of the strengths of the festival being the number of expert organisations taking part. And there's so very many organisations you can't mention them all, but I would like to mention the Geelong Field Naturalist Club, the Bellarine Catchment Network and the Wadawurrung Traditional Owners. Given the range of the natural wonders which we have on the Bellarine, there's a lot of activities to take part in locally, and you can see some of the highlights there on the screen, such as the Dell Echo Reef, the Bigola Wetlands, Barwon Estuary. So I encourage you to check out the 80 different events on the Geelong Australia website /Nature Festival. That concludes our Bellarine Ward wrap. Thanks very much.
Excellent. Well done, Jim. Well said. Oh, wow. Well said. Very kind of you all. All right, now, councillors, I'll be asking for strict adherence to speaking time limits tonight, so everyone can have a turn. Councillors, we also have a request that a leave of absence be granted to Councillor Elise Wilkinson from the 16th of September to the 1st of October inclusive. However, she is here tonight, so coming for this meeting, which is fantastic. Can I please have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved Councillor Harwood, seconded Councillor Murray. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? That is carried. Are there any apologies or leaves of absence to be noted this evening? All good. Now, declarations of conflict of interest. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest in relation to tonight's agenda items?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
If Peter Jager asks the question about Rippleside traffic related to Balmoral Quay, I will declare a conflict of interest as a result of a family member living in that street.
Okay. Noted. Thank you, Councillor Contel. If any conflicts of interest do arise at the meeting, please make them known. Now, may I please have a mover and a seconder to confirm the minutes of the council meeting held on the 22nd of August 2023. Deputy Mayor Aiken, Councillor Mason. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? Carried. May I please have a mover and a seconder to confirm the minutes of the council meeting held on the 19th of September 2023. Councillor Maloney, Councillor Contel. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? It's carried. Alright, the next agenda item we have is public question and submission time, a time that is specifically available for questions and submissions rather than as a forum for discussion. In accordance with our policy, 45 minutes is set aside for question time, providing for each person to address the Council for 3 minutes per question or submission, with no more than 2 questions asked or submissions made per person, with a maximum time limit of 3 minutes applies to each question asked or submission made. We do have roughly 26 questions that are pre-submitted. I do believe that people who pre-submit questions and turn up should get the chance to voice them, so I do believe we'll be going over that 45 minute limit. But we'll do that our best to get through everybody in a timely manner. Now, questions and submissions that were provided in writing prior to the meeting will be considered first. After this, if time permits, members of the gallery will be given an opportunity to ask a question or make a submission, if time permits. Now, for tonight's meeting, as I said, we have 25 questions from community members, and I'm just going to now read out the names of everybody and their topic related, so it's on the public arena, even if they're here or not. So it's on the agenda there. So I'll just read through everybody. First of all, we have questions from, or submissions from Wendy Main in regards to the Ballerine Dal and Statement of Planning Policy, Maddie Slater, LGBTQIA+ Advisory Committee, Thaddeus Treloar, Armstrong Growth Area, Tegan Mitchell, previous MAV resolution and supporting LGBTQIA, Richard Hollow, Tucker Gravel, St Leonards, Susan Weymouth, Tucker Gravel, St Leonards, Bruce Cook, Tucker Gravel, St Leonards, Charles Street, Energy from Waste Facility, Lara, Marilyn McInnes, Tucker Gravel, St Leonards, Peter Yeager, Riverside Traffic at the completion of stages 1 to 4 of Balmoral Quay, Malcolm Fisher, Tree Canopy Contribution Calculation, Jenny Knox, Ballerine Dal and Statement of Planning Policy, Hazel Boyle, Energy from Waste Facility, Lara, from Wayne, in regards to traffic management around Ballerine Secondary College, Karen Firth and Mandy Bridges, library funding, Jan Farrell, LGBTQIA+ support, Mike Piercy, Ballerine Dal and Statement of Planning Policy, Louis DeCoco, protection of wildlife and domestic animals, Katerina Larissa Izdebskaya, tree management, Loz Stokes, access and inclusion plan, Les Dew, energy from waste facility Lara, Melanie Ann Keegan, energy from waste facility Lara, Lex Chalmers, OAM, Waverley House at 94 Western Beach Road, Geelong, Vicky Perrott, bike trails Ballerine, Jennifer Banto, Waverley House at 94 Western Beach Road, Geelong. That's all the pre-submitted questions. Can I please have a show of hands from the gallery who is here, whose names I have read out?
Mr. Mayor, you might have missed the second one. Not the second one, you missed it.
On the list in total? Maddie Slater.
Annika Renee Nayring.
I do apologise, this one's not on my list. I believe there's one that was taken out from Annika, but if Annika is here at the end, we can put it on. All right, so good show of hands for people who are here. So we'll go through the list again and invite people up to ask their questions. You can put your hand down, all good. When you do have time to want to do call your name out, if you can please come up and ask a question at that microphone, standing microphone there. Is that the one we're using tonight? Yep, must be. Okay, just come up, say your name, ask a question, and we'll have a chat. So the first one we have is Wendy Main in regards to the Ballerine Peninsula Distinctive Area and Landscape Statute Policy. Is Wendy here? Nope. I know I have this piece of paper. Annika Renee in the hearing. I don't believe Annika's here. Maddie Slater. Is Maddie Slater here tonight? I will note that everybody who has submitted one of these pre-submitted questions, even if they're not here, responses will be sent to them and published online. Thaddeus Treloar. Thaddeus? Tegan Mitchell. Is Tegan Mitchell here this evening?
Off to a good start.
I won't say a good start. I'm not going to say people not rocking up is a good start. Richard Hollow. Richard, please.
We have a winner.
How are you, Richard?
Good, thank you. Good.
Excellent. Tom, we'll start when you're ready. Your time is yours.
Yep, cool. Okay. Over the years, council placed dust suppressant on the gravel roads through the area known as the Lower Bluff and St Leonards prior to the summer months. For some unknown reason, not explained to the residents, council stopped the dust suppression program, although it is noticed that various no-through roads are still to this day part of that dust suppressant program. After multiple complaints, council in June 2019 decided to lay tucker gravel to reduce dust generation and pothole frequency and size. My question is, what research was completed to determine the potential impact the runoff from the tucker gravel in the Lower Bluff area would have on the sandy soil and hence the natural drainage? And could I, as a rate-paying resident from the Lower Bluff, have a copy of all the research conducted and the resulting reports?
Thank you for your question, Richard. We'll go over a response from our Director of City Infrastructure.
Thanks for the question, Richard. The materials used in the Lower Bluff and Upper Unsealed roads as part of the reshedding works undertaken during 2019 were selected based on research undertaken by NATA and accredited geotechnical testing. This testing aligns with the Unsealed Roads Manual, Guidelines to Good Practice, produced by the Australian Road Research Board. A copy of all research can be sent to you upon request. Our road reshedding materials are not specifically tested for interaction with surrounding soil. Our current dust suppression program is concentrated on roads which have not been recently reshedded.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. We'll have that information sent to you. Cheers. I will note that there were a few questions as we met up before on the tucker gravel, so the responses may be similar since it's the same questions, but everyone has a right to ask. Susan Weymouth. Susan here this evening. Bruce Cook. How are you, Bruce?
Yeah, thank you.
The time is yours.
The tucker gravel, I'll get straight to the point rather than read the whole question out. Basically, the question is what testing has been undertaken to ascertain that the dust that comes from this tucker gravel is not dangerous to human health?
Answer may be very similar, but I'll refer to the Director again.
Thanks for your question, Bruce. There are no specific testing requirements for gravel material used in roads to determine the risk to public health. Materials that meet the Australian Road Research Board Unsealed Roads Manual specification are expected to generate less dust than other alternatives.
Can I ask another question?
No, we'll go through the pre-submitted questions first, Bruce. Thank you.
Surveys undertaken with the Lower Bluff community after the 2019 resurfacing works did not support the investment required to deliver infrastructure which would specifically suit pedestrians and cyclists. The opportunity to participate in special charge scheme which can deliver road and drainage infrastructure with a higher level of service remains available to each community.
Thank you. All right, Charles Street, is the next one I have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome to our new Councillor, Elise Wilkinson, and also to our new CEO, Ali Wasty. Good to see you. I have two questions relating to the planning application to construct and operate an energy from waste facility in Lara, for which the City of Greater Geelong is a referral authority. From clause 33.02 of the COGG planning scheme, IN2Z, Industrial 2 Zone, purpose, it includes this statement, to provide for manufacturing industry the storage and distribution of goods and associated facilities in a manner which does not affect the safety and amenity of local communities. Clause 33.02-2 requires an application to use land for an industry or warehouse must be accompanied by the following information as appropriate. The likely effects, if any, on the neighbourhood, including noise levels, airborne emissions, emissions to land or water, traffic, including the hours of delivery and dispatch, light spill or glare, the planning application documents provided by Prospect Hill International regarding the proposed Lara Big Incinerator do indeed include reports on the above criteria, but these reports are not appropriate because they lack independence and are clearly devoid of any credibility. Will Council now require that the amenity impacts on the rural living zone which abuts the incinerator site be independently assessed through a formal ministerial environmental effects statement?
Thank you for your question, Charles.
Right.
So we acknowledge your dissatisfaction with the information provided in the planning application. However, the Minister for Planning will be making the decision on whether an environmental effects statement is required for any project in Victoria, and it's at the Minister's decision to make that decision upon those reports if they lack independence, if they lack credibility. And the Minister's very good at her job.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Second question?
My second question. Yes, the available evidence demonstrates that the proposed Lara Big Incinerator has negligible public support and no social licence. I refer particularly to the CAPI report to the EPA dated 27 July 2021, the EPA's own assessment of the Round 2 submissions, and subsequent events such as the packed public meeting at the Lara Golf Club 21 August 23, and the rally and march of 150 people at Austin Park, Lara, on the 16th of September. For some unexplained reason, we do not have the results of the third round of public submissions to the Environment Protection Authority. Same public meet as before? Will Council now write to the Minister for the Environment, the Honourable Ingrid Stitt, MLC, and the Planning Minister, the Honourable Sonia Kilkenny, MP, informing them of public sentiment regarding the proposal to construct a big incinerator at Lara? If so, may we have Council's letter released to the public, please?
Thank you, Charles. Council, I have, on behalf of Council and with consultation of all councillors, already written to the Minister for Planning to convey the community concerns that we have heard relating to the proposed waste energy facility out at Lara. This letter is now available on the City's website and will be shared directly with interested community members as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Charles. Marilyn McInnes. Is Marilyn here this evening? Peter Jaeger. Is Peter here? Malcolm Fisher. How are you, Malcolm?
Very well, thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you for your time. On the 13th of May in 2023, this year, I emailed a question to COG regarding the tree canopy contribution calculation as in section 6.2 of the Public Tree Management Council policy. Since May, I've been passed around from section to section, all unable or unwilling to provide the detail required to calculate the tree canopy contribution payable when a council tree is removed for any reason. Constant follow-up and has been required as there's only part answers are ever received. It would appear that the formula detailed in the policy is not being used, and instead a tree offset is part of the calculation. My last email, which was to the Manager of Parks and Gardens on the 8th of August, seeking a clarification of why the formula of the policy is not being used and a non-policy methodology is being used, has yet to be answered, so here I am tonight. So my question is, why is there no clear detailed policy for council-owned tree valuations available via the website, as is available from many other councils around Victoria who all seem to use a standardised methodology, which COG don't have? And my second question is, why is a simple policy question relating to tree canopy contribution passed around from section to section without ownership explanation as to why the policy is not being followed?
Thank you for your questions, Malcolm. I'll go to our Director of City Infrastructure for response.
Thanks for your questions, Malcolm. The public tree making policy can be found on our website. Section 6.2 of the public tree management policy provides the details of the methodology used to calculate tree valuations. I'm happy to jump in and answer the question too as well. The methodology detailed in the policy is being followed by officers. Your previous questions were addressed as part of the budget process initially, as I was submitted through that process. Since then, your questions have all been addressed by members of the Parks and Natural Assets Department, who have the responsibility for implementing the policy. And as discussed with our team, we welcome the opportunity to meet with you next week, and we'll go through a few examples with you so we can understand it properly.
I think that'd be a good outcome. Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you. Jenny Knox. How are you, Jenny?
Good, thank you. My first question relates to the Bellarine Peninsula and being recently gazetted as a distinctive area and landscape, or DEL. The Bellarine is valued for its unique and sensitive landscapes, distinctive places that are highly valued for their environmental, social, cultural and economic assets. The Bellarine is under increasing pressure for development because of its attractiveness, accessibility and proximity to Geelong and Melbourne, and because of environmental factors like the impacts of climate change. The declaration of the Bellarine as a distinctive area and landscape is only the first step in protecting the Bellarine. It is now up to Council to ensure that the Statement of Planning Policy is applied as envisaged by the State Government, so that our beautiful Bellarine can be protected and enjoyed by current and in particular future generations. In 2019, so this is my first question, in 2019 the Bellarine was declared a distinctive area and landscape. On the 7th of October 2022, the Premier Dan Andrews announced that the Bellarine would be protected via the final draft Statement of Planning Policy. The DEL was recently gazetted, and during the 4 years of this DEL process, what steps has Council taken to ensure that they are committed to the principles of the DEL and the Statement of Planning Policy? I would like to see in a response practical outcomes that Council have undertaken, changes to policy, training undertaken by planning officers, public commitment from the CEO and department heads.
Thank you for your first question there, Jenny. So the Statement of Planning Policy is consistent with existing policies for distinctive areas and landscapes of the Bellarine Peninsula, and the Council's settlement hierarchy and the directions of the future growth of the Bellarine. You'll notice as well that when the first policies came out in 2020 odd, they did resemble exactly what the Council had passed in 2018 for a settlement strategy, about 99% the same, roughly 1% variances here and there. Now, planning officers have had extensive engagement with planning officers at the DTP in the preparation of the Statement of Planning Policy. We continue to work with the DTP on the implementation of the statement into the Greater Geelong Planning Scheme. In regards to many examples as you've listened to there, we can probably organise a meeting to go through a few of that, but it has been consistent with all planning outcomes on the Bellarine thus far.
We'll see what happens with the chocolate factory.
Well, we can only interpret the law as it is, so now it is law, it has to be interpreted.
Question 2. As all of the Geelong councillors, including those not representing the Bellarine, need to vote on planning decisions that impact the Bellarine only, the Bellarine community needs to be assured that the current elected councillors across the whole of Greater Geelong understand and are committed to the principles of the Bellarine DEL as outlined in the statement and the intent of state government in protecting the Bellarine. Can I have a show of hands of how many of the councillors will demonstrate that they understand what is written in the Statement of Planning Policy and support the DEL and its principles when voting on planning decisions affecting the Bellarine?
Thank you for your question, Jenny. So, pursuant to Section 46AZ of the Planning and Environment Act, the Bellarine Peninsula Statement of Planning Policy is part of the state's planning policy framework. Therefore, it must be applied. It is law. Planning officers and councillors must have regard for all parts of the Greater Geelong Planning Scheme, including the Statement of Planning Policy, when making planning decisions within the declared area as they must be aware when making planning decisions that affect the entire Greater Geelong municipality.
So at times though, the councillors will...
At times, yes, as they have responsibility to make decisions planning for all areas. And I trust them, all of people who are updated and do have access to planning officers to make the correct decisions and interpreting the law.
So we're not going to see show of hands today?
I won't be taking show of hands.
Okay.
Thank you. Hazel Boyle. Is Hazel here today? There you are. How are you, Hazel? Excellent.
When growing up, I'll just read my question.
Please.
When growing up, it was normal to burn your rubbish in a backyard incinerator or drum, producing hazardous air pollutants, breathing unknown chemicals into our lungs. But now we know better, which is why in 2015, the City of Greater Geelong banned the backyard incinerator. We've had changes in car motors because of emissions, changes in a cow's diet to limit methane, and wisely banned backyard incineration. City of Greater Geelong's website says, by prohibiting the use of incinerators and open-air burning in residential areas, we have tried to provide a safe and healthy environment in which all residents of the municipal district enjoy a quality of life that meets the general expectations of the community. The City adopted these measures to control nuisances, odours and smoke emissions and other discharges into the environment that may adversely affect the enjoyment of life, health, safety and welfare of the community. Why, in 2023, with all the scientific studies outlining how incineration risks the health of our community and the environment, and in opposition to your own statement of providing a safe, healthy, enjoyable quality of life that meets our general expectations, is it even being considered by yourself, Mayor, and the councillors to allow an incinerator to impact the future of our children, grandchildren, Lara and surrounds, and even and Geelong and surrounds? That's it.
Thank you for your question, Hazel. I'll give you one quick answer, is that we're not considering it because we're not the decision-making body in this. Okay. But I'll refer to our Director Planning for a more in-depth answer. We are the decision-making body, I'm afraid. Director?
Thank you, Hazel. And just to expand on the Mayor's comments there, and as we have replied to previous questions, we are the referral authority. So for Council's formal role in this process, and we will provide independent advice regarding the application's consistency with the planning scheme. And as the Mayor had mentioned before, however, what the Council has written to the Minister for Planning to convey the community concerns that we've heard relating to the proposed waste energy facility in Lara. And as also mentioned, the letter is now available on the website as of today. So we encourage the community members to have a look at that.
We will.
Thank you. Councillor Hathaway.
Just to add to that, Hazel, thanks for the question. I know there's a few more questions coming on this topic. You know, because I represent this ward, it's something that I've been doing research on as well in terms of what is happening across the state. And I believe there's more than a handful of these projects in various stages of development. And in some cases, in other parts of the state, the local council has objected and the state has approved it anyway. So I think it's really positive that this council's taken the step to write to the planning minister. But yeah, just want to echo, you know, if we could make the decision, we would, but it's out of our hands, and keep doing the work that you're doing. Yep.
Thank you, Councillor. Right, Wayne Johansson. Yep, there, Wayne. How are you, Wayne?
I'm great, thank you. Good evening, Mr Mayor and Council, and thank you for the opportunity to put this question forward on behalf of the Bellarine Secondary College School Council and of course College Council President Sally Edgerton, who's with me here tonight. Over a number of years, we've seen a significant increase in traffic volume around our school along Peninsula Drive, which has raised concerns about the safety and accessibility of our school. The escalating traffic congestion around our school is a threat to the safety of our students, as it leads and has led to many near misses during arrival and dismissal times. Furthermore, this situation negatively impacts on the ability of emergency vehicles to access our school swiftly in the case of an emergency. We believe that through collaboration and the implementation of effective traffic management solutions, we can create a safer environment for our students and alleviate the traffic-related challenges that our school and adjoining schools currently face. We are really keen to work with and closely with the City of Greater Geelong to address these issues and ensure the well-being of our school community and the broader community. We have previously sought guidance and support in finding a suitable solution to our concerns, but as yet this hasn't eventuated to anything which we feel alleviates those concerns. In light of this, we would like to pose the following question to Council. That is, how can the City of Greater Geelong work with our school to improve road access and implement measures to mitigate the increased traffic risks in the vicinity of our school, considering the safety and well-being of our students and our staff as a priority?
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Sally. And well, we have spoken about this before, and as yet, you're quite correct, we haven't reached an outcome which would alleviate any concerns. So we'll throw a Director of City Infrastructure to see what works have been done to date and what we can do in future, and how we can address this problem.
Thank you for your question, Wayne. City officers welcome a meeting with the relevant officers from the school and will speak to you post-meeting to arrange this. The City has implemented various safety measures to date, including a 40-kilometre speed limit, no stopping zones where it isn't safe to park, and additional drop-off and pick-up parking areas close by to the school where parents can park and walk their children to school. We are aware that some parents are choosing to park illegally in Peninsula Drive at drop-off and pick-up times. The City's local laws officers are actively monitoring illegal parking along Peninsula Drive and will continue to do so to improve pedestrian safety. As part of the North Ballerine Pool project, we have recently installed a new roundabout on Peninsula Drive, and the installation of wombat crossings to give pedestrians a safe crossing between the school and new pool is currently in progress. This raised crossing will also help lower vehicle speeds in the precinct. The City have future plans to extend Peninsula Drive to Belchers Road, which will assist in managing parking and access demands during school drop-off and pick-up. This proposal has been submitted to Council for budget consideration, however, remains unfunded. The City is reviewing external funding options that may be available to deliver this project. We look forward to discussing this matter further with you.
Thank you. I do want to recognise as well that the the officers are doing great work putting in mitigating measures. However, mitigating measures can't overcome the total traffic volume numbers you are seeing in this area at the moment. So we do look forward to that meeting being scheduled, and I'd like to be a part of that one as well. Thank you. Karen Firth and Mandy Bridges. Colin.
I'm Colin Bridges, and I'm representing Mandy Bridges and Karen Firth, who are unable to be here tonight.
No worries. How are you, Colin?
Well, except my frog in my throat too. On the 6th of July, you as Mayor and the acting CEO at that time wrote to our state members of Parliament seeking commitments or further action on library funding for the City of Greater Geelong and libraries generally. My question is, has the Council received a response? If so, what was it? And what further action will be made by Council to pursue these matters? I have a second question, but perhaps address one at a time.
Would you do two at one time, Colin?
My second question is, at the time of the proposed library issues some months ago, there was a threat to bring the administration of council, the libraries in the City of Greater Geelong under council control. It has, could you confirm that this is no longer considered, or if it is, what action is the council proposing to take on that proposal?
Excellent. Thank you for asking the question, Colin, on behalf of Karen and Mandy. So in response to a letter which was sent off to the local MPs, the local MPs have committed to us to advocating for increased funding for public libraries in Victoria. That was a commitment in response to the letter we wrote. Council is working collaboratively with Public Libraries Victoria and the Geelong Regional Library Corporation in the development of a strategic vision for libraries and any associated budget submissions which would be involved. The Municipal Associations of Victoria, which is one of our peak state bodies there, is also actively advocating to the state government for increased library funding for all Victorian councils. There have been no discussions about bringing the operation of the library in-house.
May I ask whether there has been any response from the state government on the proposals and representations that have been made?
I haven't got that one in front of me, Colin. That's a sneaky second one you've added in there, but we can add that to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, is Jan Farrell here this evening? How are you, Jan?
Fine, thank you.
Excellent.
Hello, councillors.
Hi, Jan.
As a Bellarine resident, I'd like to say welcome and hello to our new councillor, Councillor Wilkinson. It's great to have you on board. I'm here as the co-convener of Rainbow Local Government, which is a campaign auspiced by the Victorian Pride Lobby. We support and promote the efforts of local governments to foster a culture that is inclusive, responsive and accessible to LGBTIQA Victorians. During the 2020 local government elections, we wrote to every candidate across the state and asked them to pledge their support to their local LGBTIQA communities by 5 actions. Of the 11 councillors at the table at the moment, 8 pledged to support those actions, including the 3 women that have been lost along the way in this term. The first action was to fly the rainbow flag on Ida Hobbit Day. That was a bit of a Monty for you all because Geelong started doing that in 2011, and it was really pleasing on May 17th this year to note that Victoria was the first jurisdiction in the world where every government and local government flew the rainbow flag, so 79 councils and state parliament. The second pledge was to establish an LGBTIQA advisory committee, and it's pleasing to note that this council established one 2 years after being elected in December last year. The third promise that 8 of you made was to develop and implement an LGBTIQA action plan. My question is, what progress has been made towards that?
Thank you for your first question there, Jan, and do acknowledge as a former councillor for the region, we appreciate your continued advocacy and care for the community as well. So the city has been working with the Victorian Government's Pride in Our Future, Victoria's LGBTQIA strategy, to enable the creation of safe, strong and sustainable communities. To support this, the Victorian Government has produced a Rainbow Ready roadmap, I'm sure you're already aware of, and a set of resources for Victorian rural and regional communities to build LGBTQI+ inclusion. That was developed through extensive consultation with LGBTQI+ communities, including in Geelong. The city is working to deliver on all 15 indicators in the Rainbow Ready roadmap and has developed an action plan to guide this. The LGBTQI+ Advisory Committee has been consulted for advice on future directions and will be receiving regular updates on our Rainbow Ready roadmap action plan progress.
Can I add to that, Mr.
Yeah, absolutely. Councillor Hathaway.
Hi, Jan. Thanks for your question and thanks for the work you're doing in this space. Just to add to that, so I chaired my first LGBTI advisory committee in September. We did have.
I'm not sure the microphone's
Oh,
picking
sorry.
it up.
Hopefully it's working.
Yep.
We've had an initial draft of the Rainbow Ready roadmap presented to us. We've got one more meeting left for the year, so best case that will be completed. And I understand we've been explained that's going to lead to an action plan. I was impressed, there's quite a number of council officers involved, so there's a lot of resources. And certainly there's energy in the room that we don't just want a nice looking document that's going to sit in a shelf, we want an action plan. And there has also been discussion about a high level strategic document about how we support and promote LGBTI inclusion in Geelong. So I guess I'll just acknowledge it's perhaps not happening as fast as community members would like to see it happening, but it is happening and we will get there.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Hathaway.
My second question is that given 2024 is the last year of your current term and 8 of you pledged to march at Pride March under a City of Greater Geelong flag, I ask each of you individually, will you deliver on that pledge on Sunday's 4th of February in 2024, when Rainbow Local Government will be accompanied by the Minister for Local Government, Melissa Horne?
Thank you for the question, Jan. So the city is continuously identifying opportunities to increase presence at LGBTQI plus
Sorry,
events.
Mr Mayor, that was a question to each of the councillors.
All questions
who
are
made the
addressed. All
pledge.
questions are addressed to the chair during question time, Jan. An achievement has been securing the Better Together LGBTQI plus national conference, which will be held in Geelong in June 2024. We're still waiting the exact date, but it will be that month of that year, which will include participation from the city. No decision has been made yet about staff attendance at the Victorian Pride March in Melbourne on Sunday the 4th of February, as you said. The event will be promoted to staff along with other LGBTQI plus events, and the opportunity will be afforded to all councillors to participate should they wish.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My question still stands that
Your question stands,
people around
and
this
it has been
table
answered. Thank you,
made
Jan.
a pledge, and I'm asking if they'll deliver on their pledge next year.
And they can see that through should they wish. Thank you.
Can I add to that, Mr Mayor?
Can I answer? Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be there. It's in my diary. I can't promise we'll have the flag, but I'll be there, and that's something.
An existing flag.
There is an existing flag. I'll be there regardless. I guess the other point I wanted to add, and it's not speaking against any councillor attending events in Melbourne, because I think that's great, but just want to acknowledge that Geelong Rainbow Inc. are doing a lot of work in Geelong. They had a particularly rough trot over COVID and have got them, picked themselves back up and kept going, and came back pretty strong this year with the Geelong Pride March. So it'd be great if councillors can go to both, but if your diary's looking chockers over summer, I think it's really important that we support the local community here, and get to the Geelong Pride March, which will likely be late Jan, Feb as well, but date pending on that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And thanks, Trent.
Councillor Murray.
Yeah, I just want to contribute to that too, Jan, that Councillor Mason and myself took part in the Geelong Pride March. It was from Johnson's Park to West Park in Paddington Street. It was good fun and a great day, and I'll be doing that again.
Thank you.
Mr Mayor, because we're putting on the public record, I've actually marched twice as well too, Jan. Once pre-COVID and once after COVID as well too. So I suspect all councillors actually, if they can attend, they will, and if they can't attend, that it's because they do have other commitments as well too. But it shouldn't devalue this council's work that it has done in this area, and also the resources that are made available for it as well too.
Couldn't agree more, Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Mike Piercy. There's Mike here. There we are. How you doing, Mike?
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, councillors, for hearing my question. I reside on Point Richards Road in Port Arlington. I and 60 other residents have lodged objections to the planning permit application for the development known as the Bellarine Chocolatieri. My questions are, now that the DAL has been given legislative approval by the Victorian State Government, what will Council's policy be on the siting of major tourism developments on the Bellarine Peninsula? What will be the separation distance between a major development and, say, a residential area? For instance, the Bellarine Chocolatieri.
Thank you for your question, Mike. So the Bellarine DAL's Statement of Planning Policy recognises the important role the area plays as tourist destinations and includes objectives and strategies to enable diverse, sustainable and strong regional economy. The Statement of Planning Policy emphasises the need to preserve significant landscapes and views of them, as well as their cultural value included too. So the statement does not specify buffers between major developments and residential areas. Now, planning applications are considered against all the objectives and strategies in the Greater Geelong Planning Scheme, and these include the development of visitor infrastructure and versus protecting the Ballerine Peninsula's unique rural and coastal identity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Lewis De Coca. Louis? Oh. Katerina Larissa Izdevskia. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, just as Katerina's walking to the mic, it's appropriate, I think, for all of us to actually recognise, and there's a big smile on her face. Last week, Katerina became an Australian citizen, and she was one of 96 people that I had the pleasure of bestowing that responsibility on. So, Katerina, congratulations again on being an Australian citizen, and well done.
Well, we certainly,
Good evening. Thank you very much.
Yep, we certainly welcome citizen Katerina to ask a question. Thank you.
So, we are happy to see the recent public trees planting in Highton and Geelong. It supports some tree canopies growth, which is positive. With climate change, there are concerned that trees native to Victoria may not be strong enough to survive in the future. Question. There are many kinds of trees available, including native, indigenous, and exotic. What is council program to select the best trees for Geelong area, considering climate change?
Thank you, Katerina. I might ask you to ask both questions at once as they relate in the responses.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have seen in Rutland Street, Newtown, around 10 exotic trees, like maple or pinnock, planted very close to the side of this narrow road. I have similarly mature trees near my house, and the roots of these trees damage footpath, gutters, and road surface. Question. Why did the council plant these trees in this location?
Good questions. Two good questions. I'll go with my Director of City Infrastructure for a response.
Thanks for the questions, Katerina and Larissa. To ensure we have a diverse species palette that will be tolerant of the predicted climate changes, the city's arborists stay up to date with relevant research, work with nurseries to trial new species, and investigate species that are successful in towns that are climate analogues for the Geelong area. The opportunity to introduce trees into the streetscape in Rutland Street met the goals of the urban forest strategy to increase canopy cover. Pin oak trees were selected as a species that complemented the neighbourhood character and are best suited to the environmental and site conditions. The street works included below ground modifications that provide sufficient space for healthy root development of larger tree species.
Thank you. I hope council knows how big can be these pinnock trees. And the canopy?
Thank you, Katerina. Absolutely. All things to be considered. Loz Stokes. Loz here. Les Dew. How you doing, Les?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for hearing us. Good. It's a question connected to the EFW plan. These questions refer to the planning application to construct and operate an energy from waste facility at Lara, for which the Geelong Council is a referral authority. Geelong Council Planning Scheme Clause 3302-2 requires that there be a buffer or threshold of 1,500 metres between an industry in a IN2Z zone and a rural living zone, RLZ. Metres between an industry, however, clause 53-10(1) reduces that threshold to non-specified or 0 metres. Excuse me. In the case of a combustion, treatment or bioreaction of waste to produce energy facility, the noise, airborne emissions, emission to land and water, traffic and light spill or glare from a waste to energy facility will all be significant. A 0 metre threshold from a rural living zone is not consistent with the purpose of clause 53-10, which is to identify those types of uses and activities which, if not appropriately designed and located, may cause offence or unacceptable risk to the neighbourhood. A waste to energy or energy to waste facility will certainly cause offence and unacceptable risk to residents in rural living zones. Neighbourhood 0 metres away. Will Council now work with the Minister of Planning to remove a combustion treatment or bioreaction of waste to produce energy facility from the table in clause 53-10-1, thus restoring the default 1500 metres threshold between the IN2Z waste to energy and rural living zone? Thank you.
Thank you for the first question there, Les. I'll go to our Director of Planning and Design. It's a complicated one.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Les, for the question. Clause 53.10, uses and activities with potential adverse impacts. It's actually a statewide provision, so it sits across all the municipalities. Council doesn't have the authority to have this altered. But I think your point is also about advocacy, but we also have the Council doesn't fall in a position to advocate for any changes either. This clause sets out a minimum threshold distance between land uses considered to be potential adverse, such as an industrial use, and land use considered to be sensitive, such as rural living, which you've highlighted. If the minimum threshold distance is not met, and there is no threshold distance specified for a proposed land use, then section 55, so the referral to the EPA is required. Therefore, this application is automatically referred off to the EPA for assessment. We think we're in the best position to do those considerations of distances and impacts, I guess, away from sensitive uses, as you've highlighted.
Okay, thank you.
I think a question two.
Les, you got a second question, Les?
Sorry?
There was a second question submitted under your name. It was just the first. I'm glad you wrote it yourself.
This was actually from my grandson, who lives 350 metres away from this proposed site. In November 2015, the City of Greater Geelong entered into a 173 agreement to sell the land at 164-200 McManus Road, Lara, to Prospect Hill International without an explicit statement in the 173 agreement regarding Prospect Hill International's intended use of the land. It emerges in February 2021 that Prospect Hill International then applied for a licence from Environment Protection Authority, EPA, for the construction and operation of an energy from waste incinerator on that land, followed by an application for a planning permit 1st of April 21. The City Engineer's referral report is published in the same month. Asked why the hurry, the evidence of toxic emission and serious health risks of a health incinerator were published by Allsop in 2001, and states again with more evidence by Dr. Tate in 2020, most recently the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Toxic and Human Rights, Dr. Marcus Orlando, founded in September 2023, that incineration imposes heavy health and other costs on local communities, and it is a significant source of greenhouse gas. And all of this is going to happen in less than 350 metres from my bedroom window. Will Council now advise the Government of Victoria that a big waste incinerator is not appropriate anywhere in the City of Greater Geelong?
Thank you, Les, and thank you to your grandson for the question as well. As we have stated, Council's formal role in this process continues to be a referral authority only. That is difficult because officers have to interpret the law without bias, without prejudice, and to make their recommendation, which is an important part of independent due process. As stated though, however, we have written to the Minister for Planning to convey the community concerns that we've heard directly from the community, which relate to the proposed waste to energy facility in Lara. The letter is now available online. I encourage everybody to check it out. We have written directly. That's what we can do at the moment, I'm afraid. Thank you. I've also, I admit, something I talked about the local ward councils about frequently, and I've also spoken to the local member, Ella George, with the CEO as well in this item. Melanie and Keegan. How are you, Melanie?
Good, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and councillors. Thank you for having us tonight. My question also refers to Prospect Hill International Waste Facility at McManus Road, Lara. Has the City of Greater Geelong received an official business plan for the facility? And if not, could the City of Greater Geelong please request to attain one from Prospect Hill International?
Thanks for your questions, Melanie. As the City is a referral only in the process, we're not in a position to request documentation from the applicant in that regard.
My second question is, will the City of Greater Geelong engage this facility, Prospect Hill, to burn the community's rubbish, and at what cost will this be to the council and to the community and the ratepayers?
So as the planning and application is still being considered by Minister for Planning, Council has not yet undertaken any assessment of future use of the proposed facility. These are not contracts, negotiations, anything we've entered into. They don't exist. Thank you.
Mr Mayor, it's probably appropriate to add that it is on the public record that Council has actually entered into a strategic relationship with Barwon Water for the Regional Environmental Facility, the RON, and that actually has got does have a need for significant tonnage of Geelong's waste, food and other scrap waste and mulch waste as well too. So it is on the public record that we actually have already entered alternative at this point of time with Barwon Water.
Yeah, very environmentally friendly projects. All right, Lex Chalmers, OAM. There you are. How are you, Lex?
I'm fine, thanks. And excellent. Thank you, Council, for having such an extensive question time. I'm asking the Council to please save Waverley at 94 Western Beach Road, Geelong, on the site of the Geelong Convention and Exhibition Centre. It was a shock to see that in the concept drawings for the GCEC, Waverley is not there, despite submissions supporting its retention. Council's Heritage Strategy Vision states we will recognise, protect and share our heritage, which contributes to the character and sense of place in our community. Heritage is an important part of our identity and has made Geelong a great place to live for thousands of years. Our present and future will be guided by the recognition, respect and celebration of our past. Waverley is an opportunity for Council to demonstrate that it supports this vision. In the UNESCO City of Design, the cavity walls were a technological advance used for the first time in Australia, now universally used. Davidson and Henderson, the architects, lived and worked there as they built Geelong and many homes in the Western District. People who have eaten at the Davidson restaurant, once the examination hall at the Gordon, or been to Geelong Grammar, or visited the National Trust's Barwon Park Mansion or Murrumong, have enjoyed those buildings unique in Australia. Waverley represents an opportunity to celebrate and interpret for visitors the influence and work throughout the region of two Scottish architects, Davidson and Henderson. The Western District has 55 of their buildings, from churches and mansions to pubs. Geelong has 39 and Melbourne 10. There are more out there, haven't checked those identifications, but they left the mark of Scottish design in our landscapes. Most of their clients were Scottish too, part of the Scottish diaspora in Australia. As councillors will be aware, I've provided them with a copy of a personal letter requesting that the Prime Minister of Australia and Premier of Victoria review the concept plans for the GCEC with a view to saving Waverley for future productive use. Waverley is so important to retain in Geelong as Geelong's UNESCO City of Design, and every bit of fabric created by Davidson and Henderson should be celebrated. I'm asking that Council support a review and adjustment of the Convention Centre plans to accommodate our heritage in line with the Heritage Strategy vision.
Thank you for your question, Lex, and thank you for your continued advocacy in this space. So as you would know, the decision on Waverley's future rests solely on the Victorian Government and the Minister for Planning. The city's views were sought in accordance with the provisions of the incorporated plan, and we've recommended an appropriate design response be sought in which Waverley is retained. When representatives of the state did come to council to brief us on the convention centre, I can personally assure you that the first question asked was, where is Waverley? That is an absolute certainty.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lex. Vicky Perrott.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors. Thanks
How are you,
for coming
Vicky?
to the beautiful Bellarine. I'm wonderful, and congratulations to Councillor Wilkinson on your appointment. Tonight I want to speak to you about the Bellarine's ecotourism potential, in particular for cycle tourism. Some of you know I'm a keen cyclist, but I'm also an e-bike convert. And I'm also a member of the Bellarine Bicycle Users Group. And this group promotes safe cycling and advocates for active travel infrastructure. We envisage an iconic shared trail network across the Bellarine Peninsula, connecting the coastal towns with each other and with the Bellarine Rail Trail. At present, the rail trail links Queenscliff and Geelong, but there are no safe routes for people to use to visit many of the other towns on the peninsula. Both locals and visitors would love to be able to travel safely between Queenscliff and St Leonards, for example, between Drysdale and Port Arlington in particular, and also between Clifton Springs and Ocean Grove. Over recent years, other Victorian regions seem to have been able to capture funding to enable them to further develop their trails, like the Great Victorian Rail Trail, the Murray to the Mountains, East Gippsland, and many others. Our region seems to be missing out. When the city adopted its Shared Trail Master Plan in 2020, it committed to improvements that would fix trail deficiencies and network gaps. We were disappointed that funding to complete the feasibility study for the Drysdale to Port Arlington route was shelved in the last budget. We request the city explores the potential for cycle tourism and the Bellarine coastal connection. So my question is, what is council doing to fulfil its commitment to create active travel linkages across the Bellarine?
Thank you for your question, Vicky, and thank you for your continued advocacy for cycling in our region. As a fellow cyclist myself, and there are a few here on the council as well, we all appreciate the need for good linkages and networks across our region, especially when we're a part of the world where the roads are not getting any less busy, and we definitely need to have safety implemented. So council does recognise the value of well-connected and an accessible trail network, not only for the Bellarine, but for the entire municipality, and we'll continue to explore opportunities of how we can improve this network as were identified in the 2020 Master Plan. Work has commenced on assessing the feasibility and concept options for shared trail connections between local towns here, as you've stated, on the Bellarine, and it does remain a top priority for this council. However, we are continuing to work through resource allocations and we'll seek to update the progress on this project as quickly as possible. However, we are operating in a fiscally constrained environment, but as I said, it remains a top, and we are doing 6 monthly affordability cycles. So when something does come up, we'll be able to act on it quickly. Thank you, Vicky. Deputy Mayor.
Look, it's fantastic we're talking about the Bellarine because that's where we are. But I just want to highlight as well too, we've actually got the same problem in the northern parts of Geelong as well too. In 1992, the Shire of Coria adopted a master trail plan that actually said the Yuyangs, Lara and the northern suburbs of Geelong should be linked with the CBD. And unfortunately, we're still waiting for that as well too, Vicky. So the issue about our master trails around Geelong is across our whole of our region, and we have discussed it as a group, how we can actually facilitate that as well too, because the reality is without those connections, we actually are leaving behind parts of Geelong, and you've highlighted how Bellarine has been missing out, so thank you.
Indeed, the Shared Trail Master Plan, it does the whole of Geelong, and that is a crucial part of it as well. Yeah, please, Councillor Mason.
And just to add, I think it's really important for everybody to know that we are really serious about trying to get this connectivity going. But the sad or the difficult fact to understand is that it really is going to take big money to do some of these connections, and I think we're really going to have some concerted effort to seek external funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. All right. Jennifer Banto. There you are. How are you, Jennifer?
Good, thank you, yes. Good evening, everybody. Thank you. It's very good to hear that your answer to the previous question about Waverley. So it's probably already answered my questions, but
let's put them
I
on
will
the public
put it on the
record
record
Yep.
Because I do make a few different points, but with the same objective. The former, I hope everyone realises the building we're talking about, the former Deakin University car park in Western Beach is now under Victorian government jurisdiction. So I realise that it's at a different level for building the Geelong Convention and Exhibition Centre. Waverley House and interior, which is an important point, is protected. It's at the northeast corner of that huge block at 94 Western Beach. It's protected under 2 local government overlays individually, the house and the interior, and then also under the precinct, the Woolen Mills Industrial Heritage Area as well. Does Council agree that with an imaginative design, Waverley House and its interior should be conserved and be incorporated into the plans of the new development as a feature, showcasing Geelong's industrial heritage and the designation as a city of design? We're not opposed to the convention centre, but we can see that the two could be happily coexist there together. That's the first question.
I'll answer that one for you now, Jennifer, if you like. So, as you know, the Minister for Planning will decide on the future development in relation to the Geelong Convention Centre or Convention and Exhibition Centre. The application was forwarded onto the City for comment, noting it was not a permit referral as no permit was required. The City's response acknowledges the heritage significance of Waverley and a preference for Waverley to be retained and repurposed within the Convention and Exhibition Centre.
I'll go on though.
Please, please.
The second question, which is also important because it shows the broad interest in this building. At the last meeting of the Greater Geelong Heritage Advisory Committee, chaired by Councillor Cadwell, on Monday the 28th of August, a motion was passed that the City of Greater Geelong Heritage Advisory Committee support the conservation of Waverley House to preserve the special cavity brick wall structure and its inclusion into the plans of the Geelong Convention and Exhibition Centre. This motion was passed unanimously, without dissent, by the 6 group representatives, 1 community rep present and another group representative by email, which shows the broad interest in this building. The City is a referral authority for comment on the Geelong Convention and Exhibition Centre's Strategic Development Site Project Incorporated document, and I believe that's been responded to. This document in part supports the retention of the building under the master plan. This incorporated document that's now part of our planning scheme says that the site should be assessed and the building and structure can be incorporated into the site's redevelopment as a site of heritage to be interpreted in the future development of the site. This document also says, for proposals to develop land in a heritage overlay or adjacent to land in a heritage overlay, a report from a suitably qualified heritage consultant must be provided. So this is a document specifically for that site, and it's already saying that adaptive reuse of heritage rather than demolition and rebuilding can be part of this site. So it's really more or less agreeing with us.
Yeah, we absolutely would love it too, but the City has not provided a formal contribution to the incorporated document as was prepared by the Department of Transport and Planning and was not exhibited for so, I'm afraid.
But this incorporated document has quite a strong influence on the final outcome.
It does, yeah. However, was exhibited for us to put implement into that document itself.
And the city's response has been agreeable to retaining that building.
We have been, that has been our preference.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right, I've got one more, which was a late submission by Ian Kelly. Is Ian Kelly here? There we are. How are you, Ian?
Thank you, Mayor, councillors and officers. It's a pleasure to be able to come and address you and provide some background information to the two following questions. Farmers are in an extremely tough position at present, with livestock prices having crashed, both sheep and cattle. Cattle prices have dropped by more than half since last year, with a 10% drop even in the last month. Lambs had to be euthanised at Bendigo sale recently due to no offers to buy at all, with producers unable to afford to pay the freight home as they have no feed. At a regional cattle sale yesterday, a cow was sold for 10 cents a kilo. How much do you pay at the supermarket? Diesel fuel prices are an all-time high. Fertiliser prices have increased due to the effect of the Ukraine war, and Weather Bureau has confirmed the onset of El Nino drought conditions. The livestock truck wash is an essential facility required in the Geelong region and must be retained to protect biosecurity and the viability of the area's significant efficient primary production. My first question is, are councillors aware that the sale yards truck wash charges have increased by 241% from $1 a minute to wash out a truck to $3.41 a minute in the 2023-24 budget, effective on the 1st of September this month? There appears to be an administrative mistake, as this is the equivalent of petrol prices going from $1.60 a litre to $5.46. The charge per minute of $3.41 is way above comparable truck washes as follows: Ballarat 95 cents, Colac $1, Mortlake 90 cents, Bendigo $1.25, Kyneton $1.28, Hamilton $1.15. The charge of $3.41 per minute will make the cost of washing a livestock semi-trailer 2-deck go from approximately $30 to $102, a semi-trailer 4-deck from approximately $80 to $273, a B-double from $120 to $409. Incidentally, a B-double pulled in there yesterday and saw the prices and drove out again. So if with your high prices, you're not going to get any money at all. So if you're trying to save money by putting it up, I think you might be better off going the other way and put it down to 90 cents and you get every truck going through, you might make some money. At these prices, carriers will not be able to afford to wash their trucks after each load, and will have to leave them dirty for the next load. This is a significant biosecurity risk for farmers and primary production. As a high-performing council, being a not-for-profit public organisation, the truck wash charges should be within existing competitive market rates. Can you please investigate this and have the Finance Department corrected quickly before 1 September? The reason that's there, I missed getting the question at last meetings. Or defer the increase until we have completed your investigations.
Thank you for your question, Ian. I'll go to our CFO for an answer.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly, for your questions regarding the truck wash facility. The cost increase of $3.41 from $1 is correct. The cost included in the 2023-24 fees and charges schedule was adopted with the annual budget in June 23. The price increase is designed to achieve a net zero cost to ratepayers. The city recently completed a review of the use of the truck wash, with the analysis showing an annual running cost of $250,000, with each use having a cost of $148.54 to the city. The result being an average monthly cost to ratepayers of $13,926 to subsidise the service. 92% of the trucks using the facility were from outside the municipality. The City of Greater Geelong continues to provide the truck wash service at a price which is more sustainable for the city and does not require ratepayers to heavily subsidise the service at the expense of other core services provided by the council. Truck wash facilities in regional Victoria are mainly located at livestock exchanges, as you've pointed out. Presently, there is no stock movement at the truck wash in Geelong.
can I suggest that your management of the thing's got to be way out of whack because of all the other councils around the place are... you're not competitive and you claim to be a high-performing council.
And we're not claiming to be competitive. We're not quite sure how they subsidise their costs or if they are subsidised at all. However, we were running at a subsidised rate. We've now raised the prices to be neutral.
Well, as I said earlier, if you leave it at $3.40, you won't get a bean. It'll cost you even more.
And if it won't cost even more. If we lower the prices and people use it, it costs us more. But you may ask your second question if you like. There's no profit.
Question 2 is the current location of the truck wash is destined to become a residential area. Where is the truck wash planned to be relocated and when is that planning to occur?
Mr. CFO?
There are no plans on this matter at this stage.
Councillor Mason, you're chair of the Rural Advisory Committee.
So, Ian, all questions have to come to me, to the chair.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I was asked for a comment from Anthony Aiken.
Mr. Mayor, it is probably appropriate that we are working to look at reviewing the Livestock and Information Exchange, and we are in the process of actually appointing a specialist to actually assist the council with that process, and it probably is appropriate for the relevant officer just to make a quick comment on it to give you and the broader community, because you have actually spoken about the future. Yes, we've got to acknowledge the existing usage costers, which I think the council will do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is also appropriate if the officer could be given an opportunity, Mr. Mayor, just to respond to the issue about the Livestock and Information Exchange going forward.
Which officer?
Yeah.
Which officer?
To Neil.
Please.
Thank you, Councillor Aiken. So we will be putting out to market soon a dedicated agri-business development officer, and as part of their remit they'll be exploring the requirement for a livestock exchange and truck wash, looking into that detail further and really determining what the need is for the community moving forward. So we are progressing that work over the next 12 months.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the question. Can I please, as this is inappropriate time to continue discussions, as significant discussions need to take place, I need to arrange some meetings with councillors about what your policy is and make some progress. Thank you.
You can do that, sir. Thank you, Ian. All right, now that we have gone quite over question time, are there any quick questions on the floor? I will open up one or two. So, one hand, sir, please. How are you, Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councillor Mason. Good to see you here. I have two quick questions, if I may.
Please.
The first one is, as you are aware, well, firstly, I'm Chris Reynolds. I am Secretary of Theatre 3222, responsible for the planets you see above you, and I'm also the community representative for the Committee of Management here for the Potato Shed.
Indeed.
So both of my questions are about the Potato Shed. I've been involved in the business case study in a project governance group around a potato shed redevelopment, and I've become frustrated with the outcomes to date. While I'm very pleased with the business case that has been completed with expected favourable outcomes, I'm frustrated that we have had to have the case prepared by June 30th this year, and now we have to wait to be shovel ready. I've been told that we may have to wait up to 12 months, so the project has become hurry up and wait. The redevelopment here of the potato shed has been in the planning stage since 2010. When are we actually going to see some work happen at the potato shed? And what is the council doing to actively lobby both the state and federal governments to get funding for the redevelopment of the potato shed like we got for the pool across the road that was not shovel ready?
Thank you for your question, Chris. I will perhaps take some bits on notice, but thank you for your work in the committee here. We did serve together as past 3 years I was chair of the facility and part of that development as well for the business case, as Councillor Mason was before me and is now. We have been talking to MPs. It was a major thing for the last state election, talking to all sides of politics, all representatives, everybody put their hand up about it. I understand your frustration, but apparently we're in a situation now where we've got to keep shaking the tree, keep rattling the can, but we're glad you're here doing it as well.
Yeah, that's all we can ask for, is that keeps happening. I just wanted to bring it to a wider audience's
Keep it forefront of mind.
knowledge. Yeah, just for that. My second question is about disability access here to the potato shed. Access to the main entrance for people in wheelchairs and with walkers, patrons, is quite good. Comes up, meets Australian standards to get there, but they can't get in. Honestly, it's not something I've given a lot of thought to until recently. Being able-bodied, I can hold the door open and walk in. I can hold the door open for other people to walk in and all that sort of stuff. But a person in a wheelchair came to an event that I was holding here a few weeks ago and had to ring me and ask me to come out and hold the door open so they could get in. And I find that during our very, very popular morning show times, we have a number of patrons in wheelchairs and walkers where we have to leave the door open regardless of the weather conditions or have somebody out there holding the door. The situation can be easily rectified by having automated doors like they have in other buildings throughout the council. So I'm just wondering, when will it be possible for the automated doors to be installed here at the front of this facility?
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Chris. We do have an aim to be a fully accessible and inclusive community in Geelong. We've got a strategic plan behind that. We've got an advisory committee as well. It is important that everybody has access or equal right of access to all of our buildings and that they're able to do so. That one's very right there, that we should have proper doors there so people can get in without having to hold it open, as with many other doors, not just entranceways, but amenities, bathrooms and whatnot as well. We've had talks before about lighting and making sure that places are visible so everybody of all ages can use them, but that's a very important note as well about the front doors there, so we'll take that on board.
Thank you.
Appreciate your continued advocacy. All right, now I believe that will conclude tonight's question and submission time this evening. Thank you again to all submitters for the questions, and thank you to the councillors and officers involved as well. I've not received any petitions or joint... You have a question, Tom? Yes. Just put your hand up. Thank you. I will ask one for Tom. Come on, please. Might have to take on notice. How are you, Tom?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, councillors. Thank you very much. Elise, congratulations. Well done. You've joined an august group.
I believe her name is now Councillor Wilkinson.
What did I say?
Elise.
Oh. Righto, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Tom.
Ellie Wasty, congratulations. You're on the Bellarine. This is the heartbeat of Geelong. Let there be no disturbance from the Councillor Aitken over there, please. Question, the original Sustainable Tourism Destination 10-year master plan, great document, and it had a list of projects in it, a list of projects, demand-driving projects, and it talked about priority projects for the region. A lot of private money involved in this, a lot of opportunities. When you hear the stories of, how the rural sector's under pressure, etc., tourism is a great opportunity for us, socially, culturally, environmentally, and financially. It's a cracker. Private investment will help drive this. The question is, when can we get the final document so that the funding, private funding, can be generated?
I'll take that one on notice, Tom.
Hey?
I'll take that one on notice, but thank you for bringing it to our attention. The Sustainability Development Action Master Plan.
Yeah, that's the
current
master
one
plan, but it's been revised.
Yeah, it's been revised recently.
So when will the final document be produced?
I'll take that one on notice.
Surely someone knows.
They'll get back to you.
Good on you. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Tom.
Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're rocking and rolling. So we haven't received any petitions or joint letters. None received. With that, we'll move into section 2 of reports. Does any councillors wish to take a 5-minute break? Ready to get right and roll? I'll suspend standing orders just for 5 minutes, so everyone enters with a can and councillors can take a quick break if need be. I'll suspend them at 7:34 p.m.
I did too.
Perfect. Thanks, team. Cheers. All right, councillors, we get kicking. Item number 1 on the agenda. Bellarine Ward Councillor Elise Wilkinson, affirmation of office. I will move this, seconded by Deputy Mayor Aiken. And we do make sure that Councillor Wilkinson is still online.
Is Elise back, Mr. Mayor?
Shouldn't have left, but we'll just double check.
Yes, I am back.
There she is. Perfect timing, absolutely okay. Now, as it says, this is an affirmation of office. Once again, we will congratulate Councillor Wilkinson for being a successful outcome of the recent countback from the Bellarine ward, nearly a month ago, really. As I said, you only become a councillor for the first time once, and already been involved. Had to sneak away for some pre-planned leave up north, but we'll be coming back, I'm sure, invigorated and ready to see out the year we have ahead of us. Fantastic outcome, and Elise has already contributed a great amount and affirmed that she will continue to do so for the rest of the term, which is fantastic. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Look, this is a statute requirement and the final component so that Councillor Wilkinson can actually be officially a councillor. So congratulations on behalf of all of the group to Councillor Wilkinson. And look, it actually has been a big 12 months for the City of Greater Geelong. In November, of course, we lost former Councillor Mansfield, who actually became elected to the upper house. And in early June, we lost Councillor Gresbeck in the Windermere ward, and has been replaced by Councillor Hathaway. And of course, Councillor Cadwell replaced Councillor Mansfield. And of course, we've now seen that with the resignation of Councillor Asher in the Bellarine ward in late June, we've now have Councillor Wilkinson appointed. And what's really fascinating statistic is that in Geelong, 60% of our candidates are actually male. And what is amazing is that females actually replaced females in the countbacks in each of those electorates. So we were at risk of actually having more males come onto the council during a countback process simply because of the weight of numbers. But democracy and the community is actually protected that ratio level in Geelong, where all 3 councillors that resigned were female, have actually been replaced by female representatives as well too. So congratulations, Councillor Wilkinson, and welcome on board.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Aiken. I'll go to Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor, Ali, fellow councillors and members of the community there at Bellarine. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Great. I actually come to you from Gadigal country, so I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, on which I sit today. Apologies for not being there with you all at the fantastic potato shed, and no doubt I'm missing those fantastic planets. I will get there in the next couple of weeks, I promise. I come to council with a strong passion for the environment and for the people of the City of Greater Geelong, and for a responsive and accountable government. I think we're greater, and a great strength of the City of Greater Geelong is our diversity and something to be celebrated. So I look forward very much to working closely with my colleagues, fellow councillors and council officers and the community, and representing the Bellarine community and the broader community of Geelong.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson, and well done on your first address at a council meeting. Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm so happy to have Councillor Wilkinson on board, and that she's providing a one-person team gender balance on the Bellarine with the other 2 male councillors. But it's really great that it's been a quick changeover within 1 month, and I was doubly pleased to become aware of Elise during the recent campaign in 2020. When we became aware of our similar aspirations. And so it'll be a great asset to have Councillor Wilkinson on board, understanding that some of her values such as kindness and respect also emanate from her professional backgrounds in the arts, social welfare and environmental science. And indeed her experience shows a rich diversity such as the support for Blink Dance Theatre Company, management and performance of a comedy troupe, Climate Change Alliance and degrees in politics, anthropology and social work. All of these things have now manifested themselves in as a full-time social worker, and I'm sure she understands the essence to get to the root causes of problems is just listening. So thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. I'm sure you'll be a great asset to our Bellarine team, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mason.
Thank you.
Councillor Murray.
Yeah, thank you. And Councillor Mason has certainly done his homework on you, Councillor Wilkinson, which is great. No, I just want to say a few words. It's an exciting time when you become a councillor, and some of us have been here for some time, but I just want to take this opportunity to wish you all the best. We caught up before you did go away, and I know you're going to be a big part of the Bellarine going forward, and so I certainly just hope you enjoy your time with us, with the council group, for the period we have left. So all the best to you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Councillor Hathaway.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Councillor Wilkinson, I know I've said this directly to you privately, but for the public record, I'm absolutely thrilled to have you on council. It's great to have a fellow social worker on council and someone who is very community minded, so I think you're a real gain for the community out in the Bellarine. And also to echo the Deputy Mayor's comments, I'm also relieved that with each count back process that we haven't gone backwards in terms of representation of women on council. So looking forward to working with you for the next 12 months.
Thank you, Councillor Hathaway. Councillor Cadwell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll join the chorus because I too want to welcome Councillor Wilkinson. It is really wonderful to have you joining council, and particularly to have another socially progressive woman joining councillor ranks. So I'm very much looking forward to working with you. Bring on the sisterhood.
You heard it here first. All right. With that, Councillor Maloney.
Thank you, Mayor Sullivan, and I would also like to echo the sentiments of our fellow councillors in welcoming Councillor Elise Wilkinson. That has a magnificent ring to it, and as somebody who campaigned alongside you for environmental action with a very similar ethos, I am over the moon to see you on the big screen. Your face is massive in front of all of us here today. I've had the same treatment at Council City Hall when I was unable to attend during all the pandemic, but I'm so excited to have you. Not only is Elise an incredible social advocate and incredibly learned individual, but she's also a magnificent dancer. So I hope that we get some strategic briefings with some interpretive dance or some sort of creative application from your wonderful talents. But no, truly excited to see what you're going to bring to the Bellarine and to our municipality as a whole. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm not quite sure how to take those dance comments, but we're on a theatre, so I'll let them slide, as long as they don't pull the rest of us into it. With that, yeah, once again, welcome. We only said you're only elected for the first time once. Enjoy it. There's a whole year ahead, and there's plenty of work to do for all of us. So welcome to the crew. It's not easy to come in halfway through a term, but there's plenty going on, so plenty of a chance to get involved. With that, put that to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? You can vote on that one, Councillor Wilkinson, if you like to. That is something you get to vote on. That is passed. Thank you. Carried. All right. Item number 2, Amendment C278GGEE, Marshall Precinct Structure Plan Adoption and Exhibition. Moved by Councillor Mason, seconded by Councillor Cadwell. Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report asks Council to adopt the Marshall Precinct Structure Plan and support the public exhibition of this amendment. This PSP is the most recent residential development in Armstrong Creek Urban Growth Plan, and that was originally adopted by the city in May 2008. This has been in development for a long time, held up mainly by anomalies and problems in stormwater issues. These have now been resolved through new technical assessments, careful flood overlays and stormwater infrastructure design. And of course we now also have the wonderful Sparrow Vale wetlands. There's also been further community consultation in 2019. So the PSP covers 123 acres and is set to host more than 1,500 homes. It's bounded by the Marshall Train Station V-line rail line in the west, Bowen Heads Road in the east and the proposed Bellarine Link Road in the south. Marshall Station Precinct, a greenfield location, will be the focal point of the local community where this mixed-use precinct close to Geelong will provide new ways to live, work and travel through the delivery of a dense cluster of medium to high density residential housing integrated with retail and commercial activity. It will also reflect housing diversity, social and affordable housing, delivery of open space, public and active transport, best practices in biodiversity, environmentally sustainable design and the circular economy, tree canopy, native vegetation and green spaces. The higher density accommodation close to Marshall Railway Station will transition from rural, semi-rural and public utility land within the Marshall precinct and into an attractive, livable, sustainable, integrated urban environment. Mr Mayor, I'll leave it for other councillors to make other comments.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. Councillor Cadwell.
Thank you. Just to add to that, this amendment C278GGEE is required to facilitate the development by proposing to insert a new schedule to the urban growth zone. And if Council supports this report, it is expected the amendment would be publicly exhibited later this year or early 2024 on the city's website, depending on the Victorian Government authorisation.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to comment? If not, I'll throw back to Councillor Mason to close.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to add that this amendment also has a comprehensive development contributions plan. This DCP has a levy of $989,000 per residential developable hectare, and the total DCP infrastructure has a cost of something like 68 million. Similarly, there will be a collective of levies ensured to identify infrastructure and that the infrastructure is adequately funded and provided. Also, there's a really excellent native vegetation precinct plan which will foster the environmental sustainability for sustainable dwelling and subdivision design, best practice stormwater management, native vegetation retention and improved habitat for native species. So all in all, this is a really great step forward and I commend the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. With that, put to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? The item is carried. Item number 3, our Community Plan Quarterly Report, June 2023. Moved by Councillor Contell, seconded by Councillor Hathaway. Councillor Contell.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. The intent of this report is to note our community plan, our quarterly report for the community plan, and as is noted in the report, it's our, our strategic document that highlights the initiatives and the efforts that we'll focus on over the 4-year period. There's 64 actions that have been reported upon in the report. 46 of the actions were complete, a couple of those notable ones being the LED street lighting upgrade, where there was some 14,000 street lights upgraded to LED. And also worthy of note, particularly given that we're in the Bellarine, was the Southeast Bellarine Biodiversity Strategy. There was a number of items, in fact, that are ongoing. 2 that are quite significant, one being Rippleside Park development. I just spoke to the officers about that earlier on. It's on track, and at this point in time, looking at a completion of estimated around the end of 2024. And also the access and inclusion plan, which is pretty important given some of the comments that were made about access and inclusion tonight during question time. There's a couple of actions that were off track, one of those being the Creamery Road and Alco Road precinct structure. And of course, always disappointing to see some of the initiatives that are not proceeding. These being predominantly due to funding, one being the integrated transport plan. I still feel that is something that we need to put a lot of work into. Whilst I acknowledge that there's work that's occurred there, including the G21 transport plan, but I think we all agree that the connectivity and access and egress from the CBD and east-west traffic through the CBD, including heavy vehicle traffic, is still a huge challenge for us, and that's a body of work that still needs to be looked at. And also the annual live music program didn't go ahead. Again, funding restraints have been one of the impacts on that as well. So I'm sure that other councillors have items and initiatives within the plan that they may want to comment on. So from me, I'll leave it at that, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Contell. Councillor Hathaway.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to acknowledge the work of council officers that we have completed 46 out of 64 actions. I think that's quite an achievement, and hopefully we'll get there with the remaining time. And also wanted to highlight that our community plan recognises the importance of social equity, access and inclusion in everything that we're doing as a key priority area for the long-term sustainability of our community. If we want a clever and creative future, we need to advance our whole community, and that means acknowledging that some are half or 3/4 of the way to the finishing line, whilst others haven't even made it to the start of the race. It's important that we continue to let these goals and principles of social equity, access and inclusion drive everything that we do in the city, and most importantly, listen to communities that are impacted by social inequality, poor accessibility and inclusion. So I commend the report. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hathaway. Councillors wish to comment? Councillor Harwood.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just quickly, just noting, I guess, the amount of work that's been completed given the financial headwinds we've been through, I guess the change of staff that we've had in recent times. It's quite a significant achievement of the council organisation to be at this point in time, albeit, yes, there are still a few areas to be worked on, but by and large, I think that's a pretty good result given what we've been through in the last 12 to 24 months. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you. Councillor Mason.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I too want to congratulate the officers for their good work under various difficult conditions and financial constraints in that achievement. But I'm also temperate with the fact that we still have yet to develop our 10-year economic plan, development plan, and one of the reasons we have not achieved that at the moment is we decided to defer it until we got a new CEO. And so here we are. We're going to be full momentum now, moving forward on our 10-year economic development plan. So I look forward to the work that we're doing on that. But I also temper it with my disappointment that we haven't yet achieved our 10-year biodiversity strategy, and I do hope we can get on the job and do some more work with that. And we'll be monitoring the progress as the year progresses. Thank you.
Well said, Councillor Mason, and conversations are already underway to make sure that economic development plan will be back with us promptly. There's no further councillors to comment. I'll go to Councillor Contell to close.
Nothing further, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? The item is carried. Item number 4, Burnham Court, Belmont, finalisation of special rates and charges scheme, SRC 365. Moved by Councillor Maloney, seconded by Councillor Harwood. Councillor Maloney.
Thank you, Ms Sullivan. This is just a wrapping up of the SRC for the Burnham Court in Belmont, not too far from my home digs. The intent to declare this was expressed quite a while ago in June 2021, where we declared this rate and charges, and this is just finalising the sealing of those roads with 8 properties benefiting from the upgrade in this, including the reconstruction of curb and drainage, which is probably humdrum to most people, but it's sort of the final cherry on the sundae of completing these works around this area. I'll leave it to my other councillors to comment.
Thank you. Councillor Harwood.
Sorry, Councillor Money, I have nothing further to add.
Well, thank you both. I will add, it's great to see charges come in at under the anticipated rates, so it's fantastic that the staff officers have been able to work hard and save the community some money and make a sufficient outcome for all. Any other councillors to comment? Not. Councillor Maloney.
Thank you. Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Put that to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? Item is carried. Item number 5 is the Geelong Major Events Annual Report. I ask that is moved by Committee Chair Deputy Mayor Aiken, seconded Councillor Nelson. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. This is the annual report of Geelong Major Events, and I think it is important before I start giving the 12-month annual report to actually acknowledge Sharon Cockrell, who was the leader of this area that retired in the last 6 months. Sharon actually had an incredible number of years' service to the city in major events, and was the linchpin that actually delivered all of these events on behalf of the city over a number of years. So we wish her well in her retirement. And I also acknowledge that I've only actually been in the chair of this committee for the last 10 weeks, and before that it was managed very well by Councillor Nelson, who was a longer term chair of GME. And the report I'm just about to give is certainly under the leadership of Councillor Nelson and Sharon Cockrell. During 22-23, there was a total of $1.6 million spent by the city on major events, 18 major events in total, which delivered 757,000 people attending those events, and the economic return to the city during that 12-month period was $81.3 million, so it was quite significant. During the reality is 22-23 was that our major events rose from the ashes of COVID, because essentially we had nothing happening for about an 18-month, 2-year period, and 22-23 saw the major event calendar come back with a burst in the Geelong region. And in fact, we had 3 major hallmark events during 22-23. They included the International Air Shows, which had record numbers out at Avalon, the Cadell Evans Great Ocean Road race, and an event that stunned everybody in terms of the numbers, White Night in Geelong in October 2022, to remind people. So a lot did happen, but there are some challenges and there are some opportunities that we're facing in our major events sector. One of those is that our Geelong major events budget was cut by about $300,000 to help assist the organisation to actually reach break even, and the committee has asked me to raise at tonight's meeting that at some stage they may need to come and actually ask for some funding for this year. The reality is that there's only about $50,000 worth of discretionary money available. The other $850,000 has been committed to longer term contracts, and the committee would like the council to consider returning in next year's budget to the $1.2 million level if affordability is available. But I do say there are opportunities, and one of those is just down the road from here. The Premier in July announced the $150 million regional tourism and events package. That package included $70 million for regional events, $60 million for regional tourism infrastructure, and $20 million for tourism marketing. So the Geelong Major Events Committee actually does understand we have a huge opportunity associated with that state government funding, and in doing so we've actually announced a major strategic review of Geelong major events, and that review is really attempting to actually refresh council's participation in major events and actually develop a strategic focus going forward and take advantage of those funding opportunities. An example is the Geelong Motoring and Industrial Museum is certainly a great tourism opportunity that may be able to get some of that $60 million regional tourism fund. We will work very closely with Visit Victoria and with Geelong Bellarine Tourism to try to see that we maximise the major event opportunities that exist in the Geelong region going forward over the next few years, and I look forward working with the officers and my fellow councillors in delivering this important responsibility that we have in Geelong.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Aiken. Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was going to say most of the things that Councillor Aiken said, certainly with regard to Sharon Cockerell and her 20 plus years of service for council. Sorry, I was just eating a lolly. I worked with Sharon for over a decade on GME, and she is certainly a tireless worker, and she will be missed, and she should be congratulated for the work that she's done in making GME what it is today. I'll touch on a few things. I'll touch on a few things that Councillor Aiken didn't talk about, and that's the diverse range of events that GME and Geelong as a city hosts, and they are events like the Victorian Teachers' Games, where teachers from around the state come to Geelong and let their hair down, so to speak. They really do enjoy themselves, and they say that Geelong is their favourite place to have the Teachers' Games. And we had that last year. We also have the Geelong Revival Festival down at the waterfront, which is we had two last year. And that's held in November, and that's a really well-run event, and lots of participation from local people and nationally. People bring their cars down. It's a really good event. The Great Australian Beer Festival, it's had a few incarnations, but it's certainly something that offers something not just for alcohol, but also for live entertainment. One of my favourites, the Victorian Golf Open. We were the first to have both men and women playing golf side by side, men first and then women, or women first and then men, either which way you want to put it, both on the same course at the same time. And that's a great event, and that's now spreading around the world. Other organisations are now doing that as well. And another one was there it is. No, I've lost it. Where'd it go? The cricket. The T20 cricket, the Melbourne Renegades, and they'll be coming back again, looking to come back again this year towards the end of the year. So that'll be a great event down at GMHBA Stadium. Hopefully it'll be finished by then, and we can get 40,000 people in there. So thank you to my fellow GME councillors and officers, and thank you again to Sharon. I hope you're watching online. Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson. Any councillors wish to comment? Councillor Mason.
Nothing much left to say, Mr Mayor, but I'd just like to put a local touch to it, and that's the National Celtic Festival, which has been such a boon to the Bellarine, and the Bay Cycling Classic. So as Councillor Nelson said, there is a great diversity of opportunities. Thank you.
Good additions. Thank you. Councillor Kuntell.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, I really encourage Councillor Aitken and Councillor Nelson to continue to challenge us to look at this space. I understand that we've got, challenges with our budget at the moment, but the GME do a great job. Some of the events on here are just incredible. And Councillor Aitken already mentioned it, but White Night was just amazing. I don't think I remember seeing that many people in the Geelong streets since the 2010 ICU, which was an amazing event for Geelong as well. And I think we need to continue to look at those things, because we've got an amazing canvas to work with in Geelong, and the 70.3 Ironman, which I've participated in a couple of times. It's just a spectacular event in Geelong, and people love coming down here and competing in that event, and then the festivities that occur afterwards, and family and friends getting together and celebrating the achievements of those that are participating is incredible. So I do encourage you to keep challenging us to try and find funding, because I think the payback, as we see in the report, is undisputable.
Thank you, Councillor Contell.
Thanks, Mayor.
Councillor Murray.
Yeah, I think all those councillors spoken, and I thought Councillor Contell was going down the same path I was going to speak about. And I too just to start with thank Sharon Cockrell for the amazing work that she has done at GME over the years. I hope you are online watching, Sharon, so all the best to you. And I think Sharon finishing might create, it presents a unique opportunity, I think, for GME and the future of GME. And I just wonder, we have a new CEO of the city now. I'm not sure if Sharon's position's been taken up at all, but with the new convention centre starting to be built, I think the GME can be better placed maybe to go out and attract new events instead of the events perhaps coming to Geelong and seeking GME out, which I think, relatively speaking, sort of happens. And I think it's a unique opportunity where Geelong could be placed to really be in that market to go and recruit and seek bigger and greater events to come to the region. So with all that, I think the stars are aligning whether that can be done. And we look at the terms of reference of GME. Yes. So, but otherwise, those figures are outstanding. The results. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Councillor Mohi. There's nothing further to be said. I'll go back to Deputy Mayor Aiken to close.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Look, and I'm heightened by the words of my fellow councillors about this. Our strategic view is exactly what has just been mentioned. We do want to have a look at what we can take advantage of in terms of funding that's out there in the marketplace. We do want to actually try to see if we can develop an Indigenous-based event of significant national significance. We do want to actually understand that we are clever and creative, and as a consequence, we do need to actually have a strong artistic event as well too in the Geelong region. So the GME group is actually and membership is really enthused about trying to take a strategic approach to our future relationships, and of course those hallmark events I hope in the next couple of weeks to be in a position to be able to announce both Airshows 2025 and the Cadell Evans Road Race for 2024. There will be an announcement over the next couple of weeks for both of those hallmark events for Geelong as well too. And I look forward to working with the council group and bringing back opportunities to the group to actually endorse as well too. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Aiken. With that, put to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? The item is carried. Now, item 6 on the agenda is councillor appointments to portfolios and committees. I will move this one, seconded by Deputy Mayor Aiken. We have got some slight additions in here, really slotting in Councillor Wilkinson to the vacant positions in portfolios and committees as well, including the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee. We are going to make a slight adjustment as well and have it with Councillor Wilkinson as the Deputy to Environment and Circular Economy, which will be replacing Councillor Harwood as well. So changes will be putting Councillor Wilkinson into Deputy of Active Spaces as Chair for Veteran Affairs and Deputy to Environment and Circular Economy, as well as committee positions. Very procedural. We'll get rocking and rolling as soon as this is passed. Happy to pass over to Deputy Mayor Aiken for seconding.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Yeah, it is procedure. We've tried to make this as smooth as possible in that Councillor Wilkinson is replacing former Councillor Asher on most of the portfolios and committees that Councillor Asher had, with that one significant change tonight. So it is an amendment to the original recommendation, which has been moved by the Mayor, and I'm pleased to second it as the Deputy, and that is that Councillor Wilkinson replaces Councillor Harwood as the Deputy to the Environment and Circular Economy portfolio. That was a personal request from Councillor Wilkinson and the council group, and graciously Councillor Harwood has agreed to support that change as well too. It is a very short period of time that Councillor Wilkinson is going to have. I mean, the reality is in a couple of days' time, we click over to October, and October, 12 months' time, is actually election month. So get your skates on, Councillor Wilkinson, and enjoy your portfolio and other community committees that you're being appointed to after tonight.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Aiken. Any councillors to comment? If there's no more councillors, Councillor Mason?
Oh, just quickly, Mr Mayor, it came to my attention that the returned servicemen would be particularly appreciative of a gender balance in councillor representation and acknowledge to me the important contributions of women in the armed forces, both now and in the past. So it's turned out just like that, and we welcome Councillor Wilkinson as Chair of the Veterans Affairs.
Excellent. I'm glad we're able to continue the gender balance. Nothing further to be said. Oh, we're ready to go. Very procedural. Councillors, we've seen this document for us 3 to 4 times already this year. No more resignations, please. We will have it as it stands fit now for the next 12 months ahead. Without, put it to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Those against? The item is carried. All right, item number 7, planning authorisations, councillor to staff. Moved, Councillor Mason. Seconded, Councillor Cadwell. Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Planning Environment Act regulates enforcement and is reliant on authorised officers acting on behalf of the responsible authority, which is the council. And so city officers are appointed as authorised officers to exercise these statutory powers under various acts and regulations. In this case, it's recommended to authorise Liana Tokala under the sections 147.4 and of the Planning and Environment Act 1987 and 313 of the Local Government Act, and that this instrument comes into force immediately upon council resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cadwell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Nothing further.
Thank you. All right, any comments from the council group? If not, Councillor Mason to close.
Nothing further to add, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. I'll put to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? The item is carried. All right, moving into section 4, record of informal meetings of councillors. Companies have a mover and a second for the record of informal meetings of councillors. Moved Deputy Mayor Aiken, seconded Councillor Murray. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? It's carried. Planning delegations. Companies have a mover and a seconder for the planning delegations. Moved Councillor Nelson, seconded Councillor Harwood. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? That's carried. Section 6 is confidential. So that is item 5.1, procurement policy exemption, Microsoft Enterprise Agreement, confidential. Will I please have a mover and a seconder to consider this in confidential? Moved Councillor Mason, seconded Councillor Nelson. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? That is carried. We are now to consider the remaining agenda items in our confidential section of our meeting. May I please have a mover and a seconder to close the meeting to the public so we can consider them. Councillor Cadwell, seconded Councillor Nelson. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? That is carried. All right, I would like to thank both our virtual and in-person gallery members for their participation tonight. It's a good one, lots of community input and question time, which is fantastic to see. Great to see a good turnout here on the Ballerine. Thank you, everybody.